This weekend in the Championship is massive. It's just before the international break. And not only have we got a title race going on in the Championship, we've got a title race going on in the Lexus Hall of Fame as well. It's a big weekend of Championship football. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Today, it's match day 38, getting to the real tail end of the season now. And we've got some really important games from the top and the bottom of the table that we are going to need to discuss in this weekend's games. If you guys got a correct score, your comment will be on the screen right now. A good handful of you did get a correct score. Well done to all of you. I got 3 correct scores overall in midweek. I got the one Premier League game right, which was the Wolves and Liverpool game. And I also got 2 Championship games right. That was Middlesbrough and Preston. And I also got the Sheffield Wednesday and Huddersfield game spot on and correct. Following all of this is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now. Look at this title race. I've closed the gap to first place by 1 point. This is going to be the deciding week, I think. And what is even going to be more key, it's the international break straight after this. So whoever leads after this weekend will have a good amount of time to feel a bit more relaxed and to compose themselves as we get to the final bunch of games in the season. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video likes, tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. It would really make my day. Let's really push to 500 subscribers as soon as we can, and please share my channel to as many people as you can, to your social medias, to friends, to other content creators. All of that would really make my day. But without any further ado, let's go through the 11 Premier League fixtures this weekend. So we start off with Saturday's game. We've got Brentford going up against Nottingham Forest. Both these sides, I feel, for their standard of play, have been dropping a little bit below par. Of course, with Brentford, they threw a 2-goal lead away in midweek against Derby, and it was really poor how they gave it away as well. That first half, Brentford were absolutely cruising, and I thought they were going to beat Derby by a cricket score. It was a good performance from Derby, don't get me wrong, but the way that Brentford did throw it away and didn't challenge for a third goal was really disappointing on my part. They're playing Nottingham Forest side where, if I'm going to be honest with you, they are struggling a little bit now, aren't they? They are winless now in their last 5 games, along their East Midlands side Derby, who are winners in 6 themselves. Both of the East Midlands clubs are struggling with form. Nottingham Forest were always going to lose against Norwich, in my opinion. Norwich got 2 very quick fire goals. Forest should have really got a couple of goals in there. They did have some good opportunities and chances, but they just weren't clinical in the final third. And that is what I'm worried about when they play against a Brentford side that are going to be gunning, try and get back into the race of automatic promotion after they lost ground in midweek. I want to say I'm going to give Brentford the win, but I don't know what score I'm going to give them. 1-0 I think. I think it's going to be a very cagey game. FIFA 21 is predicting a 4-0 victory to Brentford. Next up, we've got Barnsley going up against Sheffield Wednesday, another Yorkshire derby. Of course, we had a Yorkshire derby in midweek when Sheffield Wednesday themselves had to play against Huddersfield. For Sheffield Wednesday, they had a bit of fortune. I felt like Huddersfield were robbed of a penalty decision, but they were very unfortunate in the own goal they scored from Callum Patterson. So I feel like with the fortune they did have with Huddersfield probably not taking advantage, I felt it was honours even, and I think a draw was the deserved result in this game. Barnsley, they blew Wycombe away by 3-1. They did look a little bit vulnerable in the final 10 or so minutes, but that was because Alex Mowat did get a straight red card. I know Barnsley have appealed for Alex Mowat's red card. We're not going to know the confirmation of that until much later on, until this video's out. But if I had to predict, I don't think it is going to be overturned. But I think despite that, I think Barnsley will still be quite comfortable against the Sheffield Wednesday side, who are still winless in 8. They stopped their losing streak, but Barnsley are unbeaten in 12. And I do think that Sheffield Wednesday are not going to be the side that's going to knock them off their pedestal. I'm going to say Barnsley will continue their winning streak, and I'll say a 2-0 victory to Barnsley. FIFA 21 is predicting a 1-1 draw. Next up, we've got Bristol City going up against Rotherham. Both of these sides were pretty below par in midweek. Bristol City were lacking to have a cutting edge going forward as they drew a blank against Blackburn, a 0-0 draw it was, and it's actually their first draw in over 23 matches for Bristol City. So getting a draw is not very common for Bristol City really, which is why I've not been predicting too many draws with them. As with Rotherham, they were very poor. I would say the poorest team performance in midweek when they lost 4-1 at home against Watford, and it doesn't set a good tone for the optimism that was around them with their 4 games in hand. They need to try and get some form of response to make sure that they can put the teams around them under pressure, like Coventry and Birmingham, who they'll be chasing for right now. But Rotherham had a great result against Bristol City last time. It was a 2-0 victory, I remember quite well, and I think it was quite comfortable as well. Bristol City, though, with 5 home defeats in a row, they just seem to have a really bad home record right now. Yeah, I know despite Bristol City being favourites probably, I still think they may not win at home. I'm going to say the game will end as a 1-1 draw. Can't really separate the two sides. FIFA 21 is going for a 2-0 away victory to Rotherham. Then a huge game near the bottom part of the table. We've got Coventry going up against Wycombe. I feel like for both these sides, this is a must-win game if they want to try and have some form of hope for survival. For Coventry's sake, if they win this game, they put themselves in a much better position and a lot more of an optimistic for them to survive another season in the Championship. They had a pretty poor performance against Luton Town, if I'm going to be honest. Although, to be honest with you, even though they did lose 2-0, they were a bit unlucky. I think they did strike the bar a couple of times, although Luton probably should have scored more goals in that game. They were sent down to 10 men as well, which really didn't help Coventry get back into the game. Wycombe, they lost out to Barnsley, of course, as I reiterated, but they did manage to get one goal back, and actually they were pushing for a second goal, and they play with a real team spirit, and it's fantastic to see. And I think it's a bit of a shame in my opinion, that we're not going to really see it next season unless they pull off a miracle run of form between now and the end of the season. With this game, I think it will be cagey. I don't see too much separating the two sides. Coventry managed to scrape a 2-1 away victory last time, and I think it was their second away win all season when they managed to beat Wycombe away from home. I'm going to say they're going to narrowly edge Wycombe in this one. I'm going to say a 1-0 victory to Coventry, and FIFA 21 is going to agree with me in that game. Next up, we've got Millwall going up against Middlesbrough. Two very direct teams playing very direct styles of football. Both had very contrasting results in midweek. Millwall, who looked like they had a fantastic run of form ahead of them, they were starting winning more consistently, but Queen's Park Rangers pull off an Uno reverse card. With Millwall being 2-0 up at half-time, they lose it by 3-2, just like with Brentford. They threw a 2-goal lead just like that, and it's really disappointing in my opinion for how exposed they were at the back in that second half. It was a great game to watch, to be fair, and Millwall did have chances, but they will be feeling really guilty with themselves how many chances they missed in that second half. As with Middlesbrough, they got a very comfortable 2-0 victory over Preston. I know Preston hit the bar first with Seps van den Berg, but they were heavily helped out with the Jason Story own goal. And then a very questionable red card decision for Alan Brown definitely put the game in favour of Middlesbrough. They have started to pick up their form. I think they know now that one slip up, then they can kiss goodbye to any hopes of getting into the top 6. I was thinking a draw with this game, but I might just edge Middlesbrough, you know. I'm going to say 2-1 away victory to Middlesbrough. FIFA 21 is predicting a Middlesbrough 1-0 away win. Next up, we've got Norwich going up against Blackburn. Two sides in very contrasting forms right now. Norwich right now, 8 wins in a row. They're looking absolutely unstoppable. If they go by points per game, they'll be on 103 points. So it's looking really good that Norwich will be able to beat the 100-point margin. And we don't see that all that often. The last team we've seen break 100 points was Leicester. The latest team that came really close to breaking 100 points was that Wolverhampton side under Nuno Espirito Santo. They face a Blackburn side where, for me, I think Tony Mowbray's under a lot of pressure. That performance against Bristol City was stale, if I were to put a word to it. There was just really little quality and confidence going forward. And against this Norwich side, who are going to absolutely thrive of playing absolutely anyone right now because their confidence is way up there. And they may have Buendia back as well. I'm going to say Norwich may win this pretty comfortably. I'm going to say a 3-0 victory to Norwich. FIFA 21 is predicting a 2-0 away victory to Blackburn. Next up, we've got Preston going up against Luton. Just like their fellow Lancastrian side, Blackburn, Preston are really struggling. Both Lancaster sides with only 1 win in their last 6 games. And Preston only picking up 2 wins since the turn of the new year. So Preston, for me, have had the worst form out of anyone, really, in the start of the new year, especially in the mid-table position. And it does put a huge amount of pressure on Alex Neil, in my opinion. And Alex Neil will be in the stands following he got sent off in the Middlesbrough game as well. I think they will appeal for Alan Brown's red card. I haven't really heard the outcome of it, but if they do appeal for it, then they should rescind it because it was a silly decision. Luton had a very good victory against Coventry, and actually, going forward, they have been looking really good. And actually, in their past couple of games, you know, against Swansea where they lost, they looked really good. And I don't think they were necessarily getting the results that they deserved. And I think finally they got a result that they deserved. I might say Luton might edge this one. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Luton. FIFA 21 was predicting a 5-0 thrashing from Preston North End. Next up, we've got Reading going up against Queen's Park Rangers. Reading had a very poor defeat in midweek, losing 2-1 to Birmingham, and the defending for the two-headed goals that Birmingham scored as well was not the best on Reading's part, and they would feel with the amount of chances they did create, they should have definitely blown the game away from Birmingham. As with Queen's Park Rangers, they had a terrific 3-2 comeback against Millwall. I mean, they were awful in the first half, Queen's Park Rangers. They did have a couple of chances, but they just never looked like scoring. But in that second half, they turned into a completely different team. And they just played with so much positivity. And they've just proven to be a little bit inconsistent. But if they could perform like that, then maybe Queen's Park Rangers can finish in a higher round mid-table position. Reading need these 3 points more than Queen's Park Rangers for me. Especially for the fact that Bournemouth are only 2 points behind them. But following the fact that Bournemouth aren't playing this weekend, it gives Reading a big opportunity to try and increase the gap between them and the chasing pack in the top 6. And I think they might just do it. I think with the squad, I think they will be able to compete with Queen's Park Rangers and just get a slight edge over them. I'm going to say 2-1 victory to Reading. FIFA 21 is predicting a 1-0 away victory to Queen's Park Rangers. Next up is Stoke versus Derby. Now, I don't see too much action going on in this game, to be honest with you. Stoke have failed to score in their last 2 games. And Stoke have just been looking not very confident going forward right now, as with Derby. They had a great comeback against Brentford, getting a 2-2 draw, but their form has not been great, being winless in their last 6 matches. And Derby away from home have just looked a little bit more slack. But that 2-2 draw against Brentford, maybe that's the start of Wayne Rooney starting to figure things out with that Derby squad. It was a good tactical decision actually for how much Derby did change in that second half. But against this Stoke side, it's an entirely different game than playing against Brentford. And away from home, I don't really back Derby. But I think there'll be a clean sheet, but I don't think it'll be the form of a win. I'm actually going to say a 0-0 draw for this game. But I'll be very annoyed if it ends as a 1-1 draw, because I was so close to predicting that. FIFA 21 is also going to agree with me. Next up, we've got Watford going up against Birmingham for Gianfranco Zola derby. I'm really intrigued to see the outcome of this, because it's the team with the best home record in the Championship versus a team with the worst home form in the Championship. So very polar opposites in terms of these two teams with their outcomes at home. And Birmingham, they had a great debut win for Lee Bowyer with a 2-1 victory over Reading. But this would have been the worst follow-up game possible for Birmingham to play. As I've said, Watford have got the best home record in the league. Only 2 teams have managed to beat Watford at home all season, so it's not going to be very, very likely that it's going to be a Birmingham side that have only picked up 19 away points all season. Watford have looked really, really good. They picked up a fantastic 4-1 away victory against Rotherham. I just think they've just been underperforming a lot of the season, but it's only been recently where I've been starting to see the Watford I'm sort of used to seeing, especially going forward and using the wings such as Firmino, Sarr, driving forward with so much pace and causing defences a load of trouble. And I think they'll do that against Birmingham as well. I'm going to say it'll be quite comfortable. I'm going to say a 2-0 victory to Watford. Final Championship game we've got to go over is the late game, Swansea versus Cardiff, the South Wales derby. Now, the reverse fixture I remembered watching live, and it was Jamal Lowe with an scintillating performance. And Jamal Lowe will be hoping he can reach that form again, because he's had a goal drought of 11 games so far. So Jamal Lowe definitely probably not going to be the go-to man. I would be saying that they'll be able to dig Swansea out of trouble. It's been Andre Ayew recently that has been managing to dig Swansea out of trouble. They just cannot just rely on him. You know, he's not the youngest of players either. And I think that is what's going on with Cardiff right now with Kiefer Moore, because right now Cardiff are not looking as fluid going forward as they have been. And I am a bit nervous for Cardiff, especially with their chances of getting into the top 6. If the goals stop drying up and Kiefer Moore starts missing some gilt-edged chances, which he did miss a couple of chances against Stoke, then I don't think it's going to be a very smooth end to the season for Cardiff. I don't know who I'm going to back here. It might just be one goal's going to do it, but I don't know who to go for. FIFA 21 is predicting a 2-1 win to Cardiff. I'm therefore going to go to the opposite way, and I'm going to say a 1-0 win to Swansea. And the final game I'll go over a little bit briefly is Bournemouth going up against Southampton. So obviously Bournemouth, the one Championship side left in the FA Cup who've got a quarter final to play. They play against their South Coast rivals, Southampton, where they themselves have been a bit inconsistent really, but their performances have been very good at the start of the season. But I do think injuries and fatigue and the fixtures have just not been really helping Southampton right now. as with Bournemouth, they have looked a bit inconsistent under Woodgate, but they had a terrific midweek performance against Swansea, beating a Swansea side who have got the best defence in the league by 3-0 was absolutely scintillating, and it was honestly Bournemouth for me back at their best. Billings' goal, I mean, the quality in that first goal was absolutely incredible. Just that bit of confidence is going to give me a lot more faith that Bournemouth are going to be able to try and have a good end to the season. Honestly, with cup competitions, it's a bit of a coin flip really, because it really just depends on the teams you go off with. With this game, I do think Southampton with their quality might just edge this. I think it might be a 2-0 away victory. That is the result I'm going to go with in this game. FIFA 21 is predicting Southampton to win 3-2 on penalties after a 1-1 draw, so heartbreak for Bournemouth. But that wraps it up for all my predictions. As always, make sure you comment your predictions down below. And just before I end the video today, on the left-hand side of the screen right here are my predictions for the 4 Premier League games and the 3 remaining FA Cup quarter-final games. So these games are also valid to get your points placed in the Lexus Hall of Fame. If you get any of these right as well, along with the Championship games, your comment will be included and you'll be given a shout out and you will get points on the Lexus Hall of Fame. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. It would really make my day. And please share my channel to as many content creators, friends, and to all of your social media that you can. All of that would really make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. It's only the end of this video. And as always, take care everyone.